and welcome to another episode of Creative Belief. This podcast is a curated collection of conversations with creatives who believe that creativity can change the world. My name is Alex. I get to be one of the hosts of this show, and I'm here with my buddy and my business partner, Josh. Josh, how you doing today, man?
Hey, Alex. Doing pretty good. Super excited about our guest today. Kind of going a different route here with like a non-traditional creative, which I'm ecstatic about. I think that's kind of the heart of our show a little bit. So I'm excited to hear what Jasen has to say about that.
Yeah, for sure. Today, we have a living legend on the show. We've got Jasen Coldiron here with us. Jasen works full-time as the VP of Sales and Operations for PM and Associates, and he's also the co-founder of Innovator, a strategic consulting firm helping organizations close the gap between strategy and success. Jasen is also the best slide deck designer that I've ever met in my career. And so, Jasen, we are so pumped to have you on the show.
Oh man, I'm totally fanboying right now because I've told you both off air that this is my favorite podcast. So thank you for letting an engineer slide under the bar to get into this conversation. So, and my coffee bean slide decks, legendary.
Jasen and I, when we first met, was through a cohort that I was in. Jasen was leading, and they had warned him apparently about me because I'm a creative. This was a process management cohort. They're like, Alex, is going to be really difficult. And I'm a creative who loves process. So I was super eager to learn from you. But Jasen used a classic PowerPoint coffee bean slide deck template.
It was great, Josh. It was great, Josh. You would have loved it. Yeah.
You would have loved it. Obviously, I remembered it, right? Like I'm still talking about it today. So you did something that worked. But no, Jasen, we're super excited to get to chat with you today, man.
Yeah, same. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man. Excited to have you on. Excited for our listeners to get to know you a little bit as well. Also, I mean, that's just such flattery there that we're your favorite podcast to listen to. I mean, how about that? That's pretty crazy. I didn't even know anyone listened to us. So
I'm going to tell you this, Josh. So it's got a sick intro, and I'm going to give 80% of the credit to your voice on the podcast, which is my favorite part of the show. So, I'm here for you.
I'm glad you said that because I feel like that's kind of been the overall feeling I've been getting, but Alex just can't handle the feedback that I give him. So I'm glad we had a guest come on.
I knew this episode was going to go off the rails. I thought we would make it like at least 12 minutes in, not 2.
Listen, yeah. I don't create the facts. I just report them. That's the news on the street.
Yes. Well, this is going to be a great episode, and I am super excited about this one. But hey, man, like I said, it's great to have you on here. I think this will be a really great opportunity for our listeners to hear from an engineer about creativity. And so let's start there. Tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your backstory, how you grew up, like where you grew up, but also even a little bit into where the intersection of creativity and engineering kind of meet for you.
Yeah, and I'm going to work backwards from that, Josh, because you guys have actually challenged me to think about what creativity looks like. And if I would have told you, if you would have said, hey, are you a creative guy? That used to like just conjure up this picture of artistic, which now I realize after listening to you guys is different. You've had a few guests that have struck on this chord of invention, which is what I think starts to draw me in and starts to say, hey, I'm part of this community as well, from a different perspective, albeit, but not an artistic one, but more of an inventive one. And so I'll work my way backwards now. The backstory is I kind of grew up in a divorced home, poor parents, like high school, dropouts, young parents. So kind of the struggling story. And so what I would tell you is I have the background of a mother who was just super creative on a shoestring budget. She always found ways to entertain birthday parties, and we didn't have a lot of financial or things, that kind of stuff. But man, she just had this ability to create loving environments and community things, and just her creativity was incredible. It still is. So this desire to kind of be inventive, I think, came from my mother. She's got a wandering spirit, so she loves to travel. I have that as well. I like change. I like chaos. I like all those things. I really believe she created that part in me, and probably wouldn't choose those circumstances, but man, she kind of taught me to thrive in them. And so I have to start first and foremost. The credit goes to a mom who had no idea what she's doing and just steered me very well. So kudos to my mom, Cindy, out there. She did this part. This is how I got started.
Yeah.
So I tell you, you want to hear about the first tangible things. So I just told you we had no money. She will tell the story of me at 7 taking apart the radio. I know you guys might not understand what a radio is because
Come on,
you've made multiple jokes about being 35, 38 being ancient. So there's a story of me actually taking this radio apart piece by piece, putting it back together to see if I could make it still operate. And so that's where it started. 7-year-old guy, screwdriver, taking stuff apart. By 8, I was convinced I was going to be an architect. And so I didn't have the right language for it. That really turned into engineering, but I didn't really have the right language for it. But I did. You guys would be proud of me. I took drafting classes. Yeah, we used to actually draw with pencils. Like I took drafting classes, and I know, man.
What are pencils?
Wild time.
Yeah,
wild times.
Yeah. I'm just blowing your demographic. They're like, what is a pencil? Like gum erasers, the whole deal. So I started on this path of just like architecture and design. And there's been this curiosity in me this is what's consistent. It's the curiosity in the way things work. My brain never shuts off. So my wife and I will be sitting in the living room and I'm trying to figure out what's happening with the ceiling fan. Why is it moving? What's the components in there? And I ask her a question. She's like, does your brain ever stop? And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Yours do the same thing? She's like, no.
Yeah, that's so good. I think what you said there too at the end, like the curiosity, I think is what is almost kind of oftentimes the heartbeat of creativity, right? Like, it's this kind of like we see how things work, or we see problems, or we see how things function, and sometimes we're drawn to certain things. Sometimes we just go about our day and like we don't acknowledge it because we just take it for granted. But then there's some things that draw us in and we're like, how does that work? And I know for me, like I'll see some cool logos, or I'll see some design that just really inspires me, grabs my attention. And then I start to think like, how did the artist get to this point? Right? Like how did they come up with those ideas? Like what inspired them to do that? But then also like what techniques did they use to like get to this place as well? And I think as creative people and just as people in general, like I think the curiosity oftentimes is what like we need to lean into, because that starts to then like inspire us so much in ways that maybe we don't recognize as much. But also that's just such a creative way that we really can like grow and expand and find new interests, is just through curiosity and the things that inspire us and engage us.
Yeah, I think the mistake or the fallacy is that hard science, math and science are in direct conflict with wonder. They're not. They're not, right? Yeah. Science just wraps a process around wondering, right? And points you towards some sort of goal line. That's its purpose. It's not to stop the wondering process. We're lost if we stop wondering. And so if we don't wonder, if we don't kind of wrestle with things, I mean, we're not going to come up with any new inventive ideas. There's going to be zero innovation. And honestly, that's just a boring world. I'm not interested in that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's so much, Jason, of what I've seen in getting to know you is that like that wonder, that asking questions, that digging deeper, right? All the like techniques and tactics that you've taught me over the years for being a better creative, but also a better business leader. It's all about wonder. It's all about the curiosity of understanding how things work. And then how do we create a better solution, which is what creativity is. It's solving problems. It's creative solutions to problems. And so I think that is truly woven in that path of no matter what lane of the marketplace you may find yourselves in. So let's talk about that a little bit. So we at Creator Studio, we had the honor and the privilege of getting to help Jason and his wife build the brand for their company, Innovator. Yeah. They approached us as they were starting this new thing that was going to be kind of this side hustle, this side business where they were really bringing a lot of their talents together to help organizations. And Jason, I know we've talked a little bit about like the learning experience in that, the creative process side of that. I think it would be awesome to hear from your perspective of what was it like to go through that experience of building a brand, starting something new, and kind of what that taught you and Jen about creativity as a whole.
Yeah, so much there to unpack, and I'll try to be succinct. But I will tell you this. I kind of dreaded that first conversation about we're going to do this brand exploration. And I'll tell you why. I carried a little bit of baggage. I'd worked with some large ad agencies back in my history at Citizens. And it was kind of like, what kind of car would you be? If you had to be a color and there are only 3 available, and I was not in for that. Now, let me tell you the journey that you guys at Creator Studio took us on. The benefits. So first, that story brand process that you walked us through just really bound together Jen and I in this common mission. It was an incredible experience. I mean, and you handled it masterfully. The project plan, all the tools that I love, you implemented all those tools, but also led us into this place it was safe to kind of question and wrestle with ideas. And then the benefit on the backside of that for anyone that's an efficiency geek like me, I have had market validation on people saying we found our niche as innovator faster than any other startups that they'd experienced. And so what that did is we jumped straight into the go-to-market strategy fast because you had built us up into the place where we were succinct, we were aligned, and we could go to market strong. And it's had great success. And so the story brand process, that whole brand development that you guys took us through, I can remember getting the logos and just being excited because it was all the emotion tied up in what we had done to get there. And I'm still proud of the elements that you created, and they're fantastic. But the process you took us through was invaluable. And so I know I have had some additional market experience from someone else that interviewed you, Creator Studio. And just a kudos, he said, I've never experienced a creative person that had that much process and knew how they were going to do the workflow. It was 100 out of 100. So again, shameless plug for Creator Studio. Not only are the things fantastic, but the process for those that are less artistic like myself, it's super equipping. So just a fantastic job. It was a fun journey.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And I think it's encouraging to hear because that's our goal, right? We step into a lot of these projects with partners who would say, hey, I'm not a creative, so I don't have a ton of value to add to this process. Like just design something pretty, write some cool words and help me get to market. And I think what we want to really help our partners understand is like, no, you're creating this business, right? Like you are already doing a courageous creative act by starting something new. We want to come alongside you with some really like proven processes, some strategies that have worked really well for us. And at the end of the day, like we want to create really incredible logos and visual identities and that side of the brand. But we also want to give you all of the tools to tell your story. And I have said for a long time that creatives without boundaries are lost and like will never land on the best solution possible, right? If I ever were to write a book, I would write a book called Give Me a Sandbox, because I believe that creatives who know the bounding edges of a sandbox, right, they can create something amazing inside when they know the boundaries. But you put a creative on a beach and say, hey, build a sandcastle, and they're going to get lost thinking I have miles of sand to choose from. I have all these spots I could pick. I have all these tools, like everything is at my disposal, and then they create nothing. Or the thing they create is very like minimal because they ran out of time. They got frustrated. They didn't know where to start. And so the whole like creatives need to have freedom to wander and whatever. Like, yes, we all need space to do that. But when it comes down to getting the project done, creatives thrive best when they have a sandbox. And I think that's something you taught me through like the cohort we walked through, just through your mentorship over the last few years. And it's proven successful in our business model of when we can set those parameters around a project. What is this project? What isn't this project? We deliver far better work for our partners than when we just wander around the beach being hippie creatives, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is the moment to let Josh know you were actually one of the top students in the cohort. I mean, I need him to understand that, like, I mean, you did a fantastic job in that group, man.
Thank you. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think what's so like important in hearing both of you share about those experiences was like, one, I think our approach oftentimes is like, we have like a process, but it's like, it's so important to be flexible and adaptable and to know your client, right? Like, because like there's opportunities where you're going to work with very creative people and they're going to want to be like, they may want some of those, what kind of car are you going to be like? I'm with you. Like, I'm not super into that stuff either. But at the same time, like a lot of the people that clients and organizations that we work with are very much like process driven, or they're kind of thinking that way. And so I think for us as creatives, and especially when whether you're running your own side hustle or your own agency or whatever, like it's just important for you to know your client and what they need, and not to be so stuck in your own process. Like, it all, like your process is the best. Sure, maybe the foundation or the framework of your process is really good, but the pieces oftentimes need to be adjusted to match what your client needs to. And because I think when you do that, and when you're able to do that, the end result, like Alex was saying, is so much better, because at times we can have so much back and forth. And oftentimes that means, well, we probably didn't do enough work on the front end to get, to ask the right questions, to get the right answers and that stuff. So now we're kind of paying for it on the back end with constant work, overwork, too much work, and constant feedback. And so some of those things need to be tailored to really reach the goal and the heart and the story of your clients.
Here's what I'd say with that, Josh. I mean, you're kind of hitting the great balance between, or the differentiation between, prescriptive and descriptive. And so I think, and this is the way I explain it with like teams that I'm a part of. Hey, I'm more interested in providing a descriptive. Doesn't mean you can take it and apply it directly to what you're doing. But here's the analogy I use. I'd rather provide guardrails that keep you from going off the edges of the highway than give you a speed limit. The guardrails are descriptive. They point you in the right direction. They keep you out of danger. The speed limit is prescriptive, and that's pretty impossible to just land exactly on a prescriptive data point. And so I love just being, hey, we know we want to keep you guys directionally headed the right way and keep you out of danger, but we don't want to dial it in so tight that we've got you into a prescriptive process, because I'll tell you that the engineers that I've interacted with that have had struggles, they're super prescriptive. And that's where you lose the best innovation, you lose the best tension, because there's no room to wrestle with the concepts or with the thing that we're trying to do. So I like descriptive versus prescriptive. I try to stay away from prescriptive because I'm just not that smart. And so that's more fortune telling, more, betting. I'm just not that guy. So I'd rather get you directionally headed the right way, and let's be agile on our way and have a way of kind of test it and see what works, and keep moving the right direction instead of trying to be prescriptive.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, that's so good. One, you are that smart, so just give your credit there. But I do want to go. One of the things I think you said to me when we first connected, and I reached out to you and was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a mentor. I'm looking for someone to just give me advice." I was leading a team at the time, like trying to grow the space. One of the things you said to me was, hey, I don't know how to do it all, but I've learned from all the mistakes that I've made, and I'm happy to share all of that advice with you, of all the ways that I've messed up. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because I think that's been so life-giving to me as a leader is we're very clear up front of like, hey, I don't know everything, but I know the things I've made mistakes in. I know where I've messed up. And I know the lessons I've learned. So talk a little bit about that kind of leadership and that kind of like advice giving, where it's very different, I think, than we see a lot of leaders who are like, I know all the keys to success. Buy my 7-day course and you're going to be a millionaire at the end of it, right? Like, talk a little bit about the difference in that creative leadership, because I think that is a very like problem solving kind of leadership.
You know what's interesting? There's actually a process behind that. No one thinks about it. I learned it way back in my undergrad days. It was a Deming model, and it was from Toyota Quality Management. Deming went to the big four automakers here in the United States, pitched this new concept. They declined him. He took it to Toyota, and then Toyota just went out and destroyed the big auto companies. And so he put this plan, do, check, act. It's the foundation for agile. And so that's kind of what I told you before is like, I think I stole the phrase from Dave Ramsey. I've paid a lot of stupid tax. And so you can be the benefactor of some of that stupid tax I've already paid, so you don't have to repeat it. So I would tell you that I think for anyone who is going to push the envelope, they're going to make mistakes. And so it's not as important about the mistakes as what did you do from the mistakes. And so I tell our teams, I'm like, hey, we want to be a learning organization. So what that means is meet our core values. So PM's top core values: solve for the customer, fix it for the customer, and then we'll coach around it. We'll dissect what we did. We'll put a trap in place to prevent it from happening again. And then we'll learn from it and we'll move on. So you don't get in trouble for making a mistake. You get in trouble when you repeat the mistakes after we've not put a solution in place to stop it, right? So we have to make mistakes. How else do you think you're going to drive and have something innovative? It's never going to work if you just fly under the perfection, right? Winston Churchill said, perfection is the enemy of progress. And so when we're striving for perfection, we're never going to have progress. So the whole thing about the leadership side is just setting an environment that's safe to make mistakes. Hey, do we yell and scream when people make mistakes? No. We stop, we use some tools that I'm used to using. We get to the root cause of what caused the problem. We build something, a collaborative approach to build something to stop us from doing it again. We put it into place. And so I have a lot of those models because I've screwed a lot of things up. And so that's the learning loop, right? Is, hey, as a leader, make the environment safe to make mistakes. If you don't, you're going to cease to exist because your innovation has stopped. And so we've got to have this creativity loop that allows us to make mistakes. Real quick side note, Lencioni built this pyramid that's the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And everybody that I know that's a rapid growth business leader, they're going for success. Well, guess what? That's step 5. So the first step is, do we have trust, high level trust that then leads to conflict? So we can argue and debate about the work. Not anyone's character or their person, but the work. So we can argue so that we can get buy-in step 3, so we can get accountability step 4, so that we can have success. We don't work our way from the top of the pyramid down. So we've got to build this kind of trusting environment that says it's okay to make a mistake. And guess what, guys? If you're leading, you got to go first and say, hey, I screwed that one up. So I need some forgiveness and some grace. And so I got it wrong. Now help me figure out how to put something in place so we don't do it again. And so I've just been good at doing that. I screwed it up. And at some point, it starts to kind of make its way throughout the organization. And you have this team that wants to succeed at that point.
Yeah, man, that's so good. There's so many conversations that you and I had over coffee of just like me leading a new team, trying to figure out that pyramid and build that trust, where I would say like, hey, I screwed the thing up. What do I do? And your first thing was like, you got to tell your team you screwed it up and you got to start there and then move on with them and have them help build something to stop that and like innovate and make that better. And that's such good. I think for creatives as well, we get into this habit, especially in the solopreneur space, where we're like, we just want to deliver perfection for our clients. We are afraid to deliver something that we think our clients are going to reject, right? We are afraid for that like feedback loop with them. And I think the best projects that we deliver, like we always want to deliver high quality, high caliber work because we've listened to our client. But I think the best projects that we've worked on are the ones where we have the relationship and the trust with the client, where I can text them and say, hey, I'm working on this thing. What do you think? Like, tell me your thoughts. Are we headed the right direction? Rather than building out this full brand identity or this full language package and delivering it. And they're like, you completely missed the mark, because we were afraid of asking the questions along the way rather than we would just wanted to deliver perfection. And we thought if we grinded hard enough that we could deliver the perfect result for them.
And so here's where, as my engineer brain steps in, you just described 2 approaches to project management. Waterfall, which is take it all the way to the end and try to deliver a perfect product, or agile, which is get real-time feedback and get those loops going. I'm an agile guy. The waterfall doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so you end up with a bunch of frustrated people because we didn't seek feedback along the way. And so now you've got a bunch of, emotion built up into delivery. The end user says we didn't figure out what done looked like. And so we missed the mark. You feel like you've wasted work. You've got employees that feel like they're no longer engaged because their work doesn't matter. It's this death spiral. Death spiral.
Oh man, the number of months and years of my life that I've lost on projects because we didn't ask the question at the beginning, what does done look like?
That's it.
If you take away nothing else from this episode, take away that question, what does done look like? Because that has been, I think, the game changer in our business, in the way we do what we do, but also just in like the way I lead my life, the way I have conversations with my wife of like, hey, we're talking about this thing we want to do. What's the end goal? What do we want to accomplish? What is like, right? What does success look like for us? So then let's work toward that and check in regularly, rather than we both, have this dream or want to do this thing, but we never check in. We never have a defined vision of success. And then we both get to the thing we think is it. And we're like, this is terrible. Like, I don't enjoy this life that we're living right now. And that's a question I think that you shaped in that cohort that like has revolutionized, life for me, not just as a business owner or a creative, but just as like a human being.
That was a result of me delivering about
so Jason, go ahead.
That's the result of me delivering a bunch of poor projects. So again, it's, hey, I've tried to hit the mark. I deliver it. And you're looking at the owner. You're like, what do you mean you hate this? How did I miss this so badly? And so you get enough of those lumps on the front of your forehead. You're like, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this, right?
For sure. And you've got a really shiny forehead that
exactly
take a few of those lumps.
Well, and one thing I wanted to touch on too, in just a little bit of what you were saying, was like about mistakes and creating this culture of failing and learning. I remember I read a book called Failing Forward in college, and it's just this idea of like, learning from your failures. They're going to happen. Where like there's, at least I remember kind of going up the ranks, or just, like you kind of get into corporate business, or you get into like these opportunities, and people above you, leadership, management, they expect you to fail almost in the same ways they did. But I kind of like what you were saying, was like, in a lot of ways, like, I've already made this mistake. Like, I want you to make mistakes, but like, let's just learn from the ones that I've done too. So we're not like, like wasting more time just creating these same failures that we've already kind of experienced. And it's like, we have to own up to our failures. Like, it's fine. We all fail. Like, let's make that crystal clear. Like, whether we hide it or whether we're, willing to admit it, but let's just all learn from those in order just to expedite the process. Right. Because like, I've done this, I've already done that. Like, I don't want you to make this mistake again. Like, this is kind of what I learned from it. So let's move on. You're going to have other mistakes you make too. So, and that's completely fine.
So again, back to really quickly, that Lencioni 5 dysfunctional T says there's two ways to build trust. One is this vulnerability, admit it when you get it wrong. The other one's consistency over time. So Alex heard me say this before. I call it like the say to do ratio. If I say it, I do it. If those stay close to 1-to-1, you'll build a ton of trust. Be vulnerable, 1-to-1 say to do ratio. And that's the way there's no shortcut to it. Yeah. Like there's no book to read, no pill to take, no injection. This is not Ozempic. We can't fast forward anything. So we've got to kind of, it's over time, right? And it's doing those two things.
Yep. Man, that's so good. Jason, I want to ask you about, so you are, I think one of the things that's always fascinated me is you are a very well-read, podcast listened to individual, right? Like you can reference all these different things that you've learned and heard. But I think what's different about you than a lot of people who are what I would just say like book smart and they can quote a bunch of different methods and books is like you put all of these into practice, into the organization that you are a part of, into innovators. So how do you do that? How do you take all these things where you're continually learning and then you're finding ways to put them into practice? Because I know for a lot of people, it's like, I read a ton, but I don't know how to like actually implement that in my business. And so they just become saturated of, I know a ton of things, but I haven't done any of them. How do you do that in the workspace that you're in?
Yeah, so I don't know if I have a method to it or if this is just kind of my natural wiring. So I'm a big Working Genius fan. So just shout out for that. I love the tool because of its personality type and efficiency type. So it's got some good hooks in it. And if you know anything about that, I'm invention and discernment. And so there's this internal struggle. The inventor in me wants to build a model, but the discerner has to see if it works. And so I have to test it. Now, I'll tell you where I fall flat is my follow through can be a little bit weak. And so I have to partner with people that have that enablement and tenacity because I'm not strong. I'm not a strong finisher. But the application of it, Alex, it's like, I can't feel like I can give good discernment if I haven't tested it. So I like building the model. That's my favorite. I lead with invention. I like building the model, which means I have to take it apart. I have to understand the problem and take it apart. And that's the engineering background. How do I get to the root and take it apart? And then what's the thesis? What are we going to do? What's the thing we want to test? And then let's go test it. I'm not happy just doing the academic research. You got to actually test it. And so the big thing for me is I think I'm motivated by seeing people win. That's the mission at PM. That's why I joined PM. The owner here, just a phenomenal, high character. Alex, I've raved about him in the past. Like, I love this guy, Michael Henderson, one of the best guys I know. I joined his team because he was on this mission to see people win, and he lives it. And so to do that, I feel like I got to test it. And I'm driven by watching people succeed. The best days for me is when I see somebody on the leadership team, like, just crush it and see this reverberation across the organization. I'm on the second half of my career, and maybe there's something that happens at that point, but I'm more on the legacy side. What am I going to leave behind? How do I leave it better than I found it? And so, yeah, I can read a bunch of things. There's tons of books out there. I'm not a fan of the get rich quick scheme. And so a lot of times when I read it, I'm like, is that really true? Let's test it. Right. So there's a guy in me that likes hard things and likes to test. I'm like, hey, this model sounds good. Let's test it. And again, feedback loops. Can we get it to a place where it's applicable? No one wants to hear just a dreamer that has no feet. Yeah. Because it's great for a while. It's great for a while. But, dreaming without application is something like hallucination. Right. So it's like, dreams are fun, but at some point you have to wake up. And so for me, the better approach is, can I take all this innovation and creativity and watch somebody win doing it? So can I equip somebody, support them, and then watch them win? And when you get to watch them win, man, it's like the biggest hit of dopamine in your brain. It just like washes over you. Like, I'm so happy for them. They did it. They took the thing and they crossed the goal line. It's like when you see these runners that are getting ready to finish the race and they stop and pick up the guy that's cramped and falling on the ground. That's the kind of mentality that, like, I'm not saying I'm special or anything else. I'm wired like that. God created me a certain way. I was given a set of gifts, and I'm trying to use those for, to lift and serve other people. I'm not unique. I'm just trying to be authentic, right?
Yeah, that's so good. And I think what I love too is that, like, Jason's the kind of person who, as he's learning, he's not gatekeeping the things he's learning to try to make his business, the things he's involved in, better just for himself or just for his team, right? Like, he's constantly sharing, hey, here's what I'm reading. Here's what I'm learning. Here's how the testing went, right? Like, he and I, as we've talked in other settings, like, hey, I tested this new method and it was terrible. It didn't work. Like, we're never using that again. Or here's this thing that was amazing. And I think that's taught me a ton as a creative of, like, I think creatives often are like, I'm going to gatekeep my method because it's what drives our business success. And I think that's just dumb, right? Like, I think that, like, the way we implement our brand process, like, I want to share that with everyone we know because they can learn something from that and maybe build something better for their company, build something better for their process, and maybe see, hey, our process actually adds value to your organization. Come and work with us and partner with us, and let's figure that out together. And so that's something I've always appreciated, is that, like, you don't gatekeep the things that you're learning. Like, you want to help the people around you, regardless of the space they're in, win in what they do.
Alex, I think we're at a precipice right now. I've heard it multiple times on the guests you've had about hustle culture and some of these things, right? And so this idea that we have this economy that I have to monetize everything I do, it's been freeing to hear some of your guests talk about the things they do pro bono. There's plenty of money to go around. The economic model will keep turning. And so to just think through, if we have to monetize every conversation, every text message, that's just a world I don't want to live in. We're in a defining moment right now for people to decide how much is enough, and where does my greed, relieve me of my invention and my creativity. It can stifle it. And I'm not saying don't make money and don't be lucrative. I'm not saying any of those things. But I'm saying to protect everything and then try to trademark and make everything proprietary, that's just not going to support the just general. Look at your circles that are around you, your neighbors, your family. Like why would you bottle all that up? We're just in a really, really challenging and interesting environment. I'm seeing some of the death of hustle culture, and all I'm trying to do is say, are there pieces we can pull out of it that are good? and discard the rest. And so let's not throw the colloquialism, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, but let's only take the things out of the hustle culture that we know are building us up and building communities up, instead of just solo focused, right?
Yeah.
That is so good. I think like I was so into hustle culture at one time because I thought that was all that there was. Right. And I think that like I was at an organization that it was like just nonstop. Alex worked there right before I did, but like it just always felt nonstop. And I was like, oh man, this must be just the real world. Like this is what we do. And the things that you compromise in as an individual, as a dad, as a husband, whatever it might be, like so much is compromised because of that mindset and that mentality and that space. But I also love, even before that, a lot of the things that you were saying about implementation and things like that is like the thing that I kept going back to was trust. And that's that first thing, in that pyramid that you were even talking about with Lencioni. But it's way easier to implement things. It's way easier to impact change and culture. It's way easier to do all of those things when you have built trust and when you're building trust, right? Like, I think that's oftentimes so overlooked in the creative process and as we work, and because we're all focused so much on success and money and the things that like we can tangibly get at that very moment, like, but the trust, you can't really say it enough how important it is. And I think that we've seen that as we've worked with different clients, is like the better trust that we create, and it's on us. Like a lot of times, like as an organization, like it's on you to really ask those questions and build that trust, that relational equity, and all that with the people you're working with. And it's kind of reshaping our mind of success, rethinking about like, hey, this isn't just somebody I'm trying to collect a paycheck from. Like, yes, that's part of this transaction, but it's not the focus. It's not really what this is about. How do we really like work together here and create something that's beautiful, create something that tells a really cool story about what this organization is doing? And how do we create a better sense of culture here at this place because of, like the need for it and what we're seeing happen and the turnover rates that we're seeing and all of this, and the way our culture is like just constantly moving forward, kind of with or without you, right? It's like you can either jump on or not, but if you don't, you're going to be left behind because we're moving forward. And it's like, man, oftentimes we just get so swallowed up in that because we just feel like that's the pace of life and that's the pace that we have to keep up with. And eventually we just get exhausted. Like every marathoner eventually gets tired of running, right? Like I know people run hundreds of miles and things like that, but like, is anybody going to be running 1,000 miles? Like eventually there's a wall, right, that we're all going to hit. And I think that we think it's like way down the road and we'll never hit that. But in reality, like it could be right around the corner. And so it's so important to be mindful of that and to, have leaders and relationships with people that we completely trust, because then we know that we can do better work and not cost us our lives,
Josh, there's business principles behind it. So hustle culture used to tell you that trust was this soft thing that you're not supposed to take time to kind of prepare for, right? Yeah. There's so much data out there that now supports these. That's what I love about Lencioni. The guy's brilliant. He builds all these data cases that say, hey, listen, no, if you build trust, that thing moves faster and scales faster. Trust is the currency that success is built on. You have to have it. And so there's a return. So for all the capitalists out there that turned us down when we started talking about trust, there is a direct return on those things. I'll give you an anecdotal idea. There's a guy that used to teach in the construction management group out of Purdue, and he would quote the data that would say, for every dollar you spent pre-planning, so building trust, like forethought, it lended itself to $7 of gross margin return on a construction project. Wow. 1 to 7. Wow. 1 to 7. And his premise was that you would hear construction companies say, we don't have time to plan. And he'd say, well, you're blowing through a bunch of gross margin to have that stance. And so there's plenty of data to support it. And that's what I'm talking about. Hey, man, I'm saying work with excellence. You should get paid because you produced an excellent product. Work with excellence. Work with excellence, but don't burn every boat at the risk of getting there. And also let's start with trust because it's important. And it's, again, I think it's the currency that success is built on. It's not the best tools. It's not the best strategy. I'm tired of all those statements, strategy eats, or culture eats strategy for lunch, and all these other, build some trust. Super simple. Let's just keep it simple.
That's so good. Man, this has been like a 101 masterclass of not just leadership, creativity, engineer, this has just been such a good conversation. And I really hope people have gotten a lot out of this. I'm interested. I think we've kind of put you in maybe a unique spot here where you're kind of like our first non-traditional creative guest, which is awesome. Like, again, I think I mentioned that was like, it's kind of our heart is to really like help people kind of unlearn and relearn what creativity is. And for you to even hear like, that's kind of been happening for you is really encouraging and really good. But as we wrap up here, what's where do you see creativity heading in the next 5 years? And I know maybe this hits you in a different way, and that's completely great. And if you feel like, hey, like this is kind of what I feel like it looks like within engineering, within what we're doing at Innovator, like anything, within your personal business or whatever, like that's great too. So I know it's kind of a broad question and maybe, I don't know. I guess we'll leave it at that. Like, where do you feel like that's where things are heading?
Yeah. So I've thought about it, and I've also heard multiple guests that you've had say some just brilliant ideas. And my premise is not much different. It's this balance of technology and creativity. And let me just give you an anecdotal story. So for those that don't know, I love tattoos. Like I may look like an engineer on the outside, but I've got sleeves and tattoos. So last tattoo I got from an artist I waited for 2 years to get into, Bradford Smith. He is phenomenal. You know how he started the tattoo design? I gave him a couple Bible verses and an idea. He started it using AI. And so here's this perfect marriage of what happens between AI or technology and creativity. So he starts with these 3 AI images, he blends them together, and then the art kicks in. And this guy's artistic ability as he's drafting this thing and moving colors and redrawing pieces, and what he brought together is my absolute favorite piece that I have tattooed on my body. So this incredible collision of technology with AI and his artistic ability, which is phenomenal. That combination, those things just made the best user experience. And I'm like, that's the future. The future is not being afraid of technology, not being afraid of it taking jobs, but learning to harness it and leverage it to assist the creative process, to assist it. A lot of the conversations Alex and I have had is like, hey, what AI tools are you testing? And so I'm testing a few things too. And I think learning to leverage, not being afraid of those things, not outsourcing our inventiveness or our creativity to them, but leveraging them to do the things that get us a faster start so we can spend more time in our genius. I think that collision is happening. I think we're starting to get traction. I think I see a lot of creative folks leveraging it well. And we've gotten beyond the newness and the kind of fake knockoff stuff. And we'll get into a better place. But I think what the world is going to wake up and realize is that it's a great tool. It's no different than going from like pencil drafting to computer-aided drafting. We've made a transition. And when you use that technology to support the creativity, it's going to be phenomenal. I'm looking forward to the creativity that comes out of this collision instead of being afraid of what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah,
that's really good.
Dude, that's awesome. And I think that story is such a beautiful like illustration of a lot of what we've talked about with guests, where like technology, I think that's a great way to frame AI, because that's what it is. It is a technology, just like in the world of design, Adobe Illustrator was a new technology and continues to innovate and get better, right? It's just a piece of technology, but that tool will never replace the empathy that a human can create in what we create, regardless of if it's in art and tattoo drawing or in a strategy in an engineering firm. we can't replicate the empathy and the human centric nature of creation. And so when you combine those things, I love how you said it, you're able to get working in your genius faster. You're able to get in that space a lot quicker and spend more time where you're gifted rather than spending time doing all of these things that are not in your wheelhouse and kill your innovation because you have to spend time doing the task-oriented things. And so I love that. I think that is the direction that I see really successful agencies, really successful entrepreneurs going, is understanding the tools and then how they use their craft to leverage those tools to create incredible things. I think that's so good. Jasen, as always, mind is blown every time we get together and chat and I get to learn from you. I would love to know what's on the horizon for you, right? Really exciting things I know are happening with Innovator. You're building this really incredible organization that's helping companies drive success and get out of the missional mess. So what's ahead for you guys?
Yeah. So, no shock to most of you listening is that my PhD program starts in June, and so I'm a lifelong learner. I have more degrees than are useful, but I just this insatiable curiosity, and so I begin that program in June. Really looking forward to that. I'm super excited about the dissertation. I don't know what the parameters are going to be yet, but it's at Liberty, and if I can write about leadership, which is what it's going to be focused on, and the collision with Jesus, I am stoked. And so just the thought of bringing those two, major life-shaping things for me together, I'm just super excited about what it can be. So I don't even know what it is yet. I don't know what the writing parameters are. I don't know what but I'm so excited to get to that place. And so I'm going to try to pace myself so that I listen and absorb. And by the time we get to that dissertation, it's really good. But I'm also, I'd say the couple things that I'm excited about, mission of PM. So the group that I'm leading for Michael Henderson, dude, we're going to see so many people win in 2025. This has been a heavy, fast-paced, ever-changing environment, and we're going to see some people win this year. I'm super excited about that. I love this team. And then Innovator, I'm doing a couple of Working Genius presentations with a couple of companies. I'm excited about that. I could talk about that stuff all day long. And when people actually grasp the applicability of it, you guys were talking about the implementation. I'm excited to see the implementation and then just see their organization and what it looks like 2 or 3 years from now. So investing in some organizations long-term through Working Genius and a little bit of the Innovator strategy. Again, we're not brilliant. Innovator's got a couple tools that I learned from engineering and things like that. But it's just about getting to that place where we can move people up that pyramid and move them up there as quick as we can.
Yeah, dude, that's so good. Y'all, if you want to connect with Jasen, I would highly encourage you. Find him on LinkedIn, get connected with him, see what he's up to. He shares about a ton of the incredible things they're doing at PM and how they're helping people win. And then also with what's happening with Innovator, we'll link to all of that stuff, website, social, all that stuff in the show notes so you can grab that. Jasen, dude, thank you so much for joining us, for being on this episode of Creative Belief. And to all you listening, we really hope that this episode has been a reminder that you are a creative, regardless of your role or your title. You're a creative who was made to create incredible things. So go and create something that makes the world a better place. We would love for you to follow the podcast, follow what we're up to at our brand design studio, creator studio. You can find us on Instagram at CRTR Studio. We'd love to connect with you about building a brand in the future. Jasen, dude, thanks for taking time out of your day to hang out with us and chat with us.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully I haven't broken it for any other future engineers. So
not at all, man. This has been so good.